our Registrar Academics, Professor Getange, the guests from University of Turkana, Masai Mara, KCA, Alupe University, Great Lakes University, Masinde Muliro University, Nyamira National College, Kisii National College, Kisii University, deans that are present, the CODs, directors, members of staff, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. God is good, and all the time. Yes. I want to take this opportunity to welcome us to our Day 4 of Innovation Week. And we want to thank God that we have come this far. It's been a success story, and we have learned a lot. We have seen a lot of creativity amongst our students from the various institutions. And definitely now we know where to move from this particular level. Allow me at this particular time invite our Registrar Academics, Professor Getange, to bring in our guest for this particular morning session. Let's give up for Professor. Tumpigie makofi anapokuja.
The deans present, the faculty members of Kisii University, the students, and the exhibitors from various institutions who have come for this week-long Innovation Week. Good morning. I'd like to first bring apologies of the Vice Chancellor, who could have wished to be here, but he's held up in a meeting. The Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academics is out on official mission. The Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of planning and finance is also out. So I'm standing in for the top management of the university this morning to acknowledge the institutions which have been with us for this week-long Innovation Week. And indeed, it has been a very informative week. I'd like to recognize the KCA, KAFU, the Turkana University, MUST, the Great Lakes University, Alupe University, Masai Mara University, Nyamira Polytechnic, Kisii National Polytechnic, West Mogrango Polytechnic, Kemfrey, Gosi Mwalimu Sacco, Eli Severs, Egerton University Sacco, and Kanotunga High School for having been part of this week-long Innovation Week. And this morning we have been joined by one of us who has been here. Actually, the gentleman we have been working very closely, but now is a very senior officer at Masinde Muliro University, and I'm sure you will be anxious to receive his greeting, Professor Christopher Ngacho, who until recently was the Registrar Research, and I'm sure this Innovation Week, he was part and parcel of organizing this Innovation Week. He could have wished to oversee it, but promotion came along. He was promoted, so he could not leave the promotion and be here. He's now the DVC in charge of research at Masinde Muliro University because of he has been at the center of some of our research initiatives. I would like to welcome you to come in front and say a word before then we produce the request. You can clap for Professor Ngacho.
Vice Chancellor, Representative, my colleagues, students and exhibitors, good morning. As indicated by the registrar, my name is Ngacho Christopher. I actually planned the Innovation Week and got the budgets approved and the money and then handed over to Mosa to implement. So I'm glad that at least we are here. We have gotten adequate support from other institutions. I joined Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, and I'm welcoming you next week. We are having exhibition in Stock Innovation Week for Masinde Muliro starting 13th. So I welcome all of you to join us at Masinde Muliro so that you can also see what we do on that part of the country. Otherwise, thank you because of time. I wouldn't want to take a lot of time, but I'm still a Kisii University staff. My parent number is still here. Thank you.
Yeah, let's clap for Professor Ngacho. In fact, this morning as I was talking with him, if he's part of Kisii University, and why don't you come back again? Okay, this morning I'd like to introduce the speaker who's going to speak to us. His name is Jeremy Riro. He's a CEO of Finlabs, and the little interaction we have had with him, he has mentioned that, you know, they are concerned with converting ideas into innovation. And I think this is what we have been discussing throughout the week. So I'd like to invite Riro to come and address this group so that as we move forward. Welcome him. You clap for him as he comes. Do the clapping until he reaches here. Okay. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. As I relax, there are so many eyes, and get used to the room, and also as the communication team gets the presentation up, I would like to do a brief introduction of myself. Like I've been introduced, my name is Jeremy Riro. I'm the CEO of Finlabs Innovation Hub. We are an innovation hub that is based here in Kisii. We have been in this market for quite a while, but we work with innovators across the country and even outside the country. Across the continent, we collaborate with other innovation hubs for joint programs. And so it's my pleasure today to be here today to speak to innovators. It's rare to find a lot of innovators in one place all the time. They're always in their silos innovating. So it's a pleasure to find a room full of innovators on a Friday, mid-morning. So thank you very much for creating time to be here, and I believe you have had a good week, and you're going to wind up in a good way. Can you hear me now? Great. So, like I was saying, Finlabs, our focus, like has been introduced, is to work with innovators and help them convert whatever they're working on to businesses. We are private sector oriented, commercial minded organization, and ours is to see how do we move from ideas to innovations and then the innovations to businesses. And so we are happy to see how we can collaborate with the innovators that have been participating in this particular forum. And as part of my introduction, so Finlabs is an affiliate of another company called FIE Consult, FIE Consult. So that company is based in Nairobi. We're also based in Kigali, in Rwanda, but we work across the continent. And we are basically transaction advisors and management consultants supporting high growth businesses, again, to scale and also to get the capital they need for them to operate. And that is basically the ecosystem through which I operate. I also sit in the board of African Federation of Business Networks, which is basically continental body that brings together all angel networks in the continent. And angel networks are basically in-country networks of angel investors. And angel investors are basically people or individuals who invest in early stage businesses. And so young innovators like yourselves, you may have a good innovation that needs to get into the market. The capital you need might not be big enough for institutional investors. So we have what we call angel investors that invest in those early stage businesses. And I happen to sit in the board of that organization. We are trying to see how we can pull more money from high net worth individuals and direct it to investments through innovation hubs and other pipeline channels that we have. And so that's my interaction with the innovation ecosystem. I'm also part of the Association of Countrywide Innovation Hubs here in Kenya, and part of AfriLabs, which is continental, again, an association of innovation hubs across the continent. Again, trying to spearhead and support innovation across the whole continent. Having finished with that introduction, today is the culmination. I understand it's a culmination of the whole week of activities here, vibrant activities. I know there are awards, there are innovators waiting to be awarded. I passed through some offices and I saw some good things. So if you're an innovator and you participated, there are good things waiting for you, so don't run away after this presentation. My topic today that we're going to look at and discuss a little bit is on green innovation. I know most people have different innovations in different sectors, solving different problems, but at this particular session, and I believe should be the last one for this week, we are going to focus more on green innovation. So green innovation is first of all aligned with what we do at PhiLabs. Because of the region we are in, we tend to specialize more on green and climate related innovations. And so that's aligned very well with what we do. And I think, yes, what I was waiting for has come up. Yes, I had a lot of stories waiting for this to come up. And now that is up, we can move to the next slide. So before we move to the next slide, on the first slide, so the theme, the overall theme for this Innovation Week was around co-creating a sustainable future. And when you talk about sustainable future in the current day and age, you cannot talk about that outside the context of climate change and how we want to mitigate climate change and the effects it has had on us or on the society. So there's an angle of climate adaptation, there's climate resilience that we have to look at. And so green innovation then sits squarely within the theme as it were. And I chose specifically to narrow down on a very niche area. I'm not going to talk about everything around green innovation because it's a wide space. We are going to look at what we are calling the WEFE, W-E-F-E nexus, and also touch on AI as a catalyst for the green revolution. And I think that's where we are going to narrow down on, and then other topics we can deal with them at some other point. So I'm going to take you through a journey, a very short journey. So we are going to look at the innovation imperative. Why is it important that we innovate within the green space? Why does it matter? And why should we be participating in thinking about it now? And then the green innovation context. And as innovators, I would like to challenge your thinking. When you are innovating or when you are problem solving, think of Africa as your market. Don't think of Kisii. Don't think only of Kenya. That's a small market to solve problems for. And when you look at the continent, we pretty much have almost similar problems across the continent. So when you're thinking about your innovation and what you're working on, don't be so focused on a small region. Think big, think broadly. So you can go back to the initial slide, please. The initial one. Yes. So we are going to look at why it is important for us to innovate, why you are here, we're going to look at the green innovation and what does it matter across the continent, what you should be thinking about. And then you're going to look at what I'm narrowing down to, the welfare nexus. And then you're going to look at AI. Where does AI come in this whole green innovation narrative? And my intention here is to spark some thoughts, to spark some interest in the green innovation space. We cannot cover everything here, but just to spark that conversation. And then we can see how do we collaborate for us to actually implement these green innovations. So you can move to the next slide. So the man on the screen there looks like my grandfather. Actually, almost like my grandfather. But he's AI generated, so he's not my grandfather. Back in the day when I was young, when he was still alive, would come to Kisii. He used to live outside Kisii and go and stay with them over the holidays. And we would go to the farm. There were cows, there was coffee, there were other plants that were on that farm. Would work in the farm, have fun with him, and retire in the evening and do the same the next holiday. When we grew up and became a bit strong, now we used to work in our own farms back home. But my grandfather used still to work on his farm. That farm has now been subdivided to his sons, who are our parents. Yeah? And they are now smaller, you know. Back in the day, I'm told they used to divide from one river across to the other. Nowadays, we are subdividing those pieces of land. And they used to do agriculture on that land. They're still doing it the same up to now. They used to plant maize back then, many, many years ago. They still plant maize there and other crops. Yet, when you look at the world, population has grown, the demand for food has gone higher, and climate change is actually affecting the productivity of our land. Also, we have overutilized those pieces of land to a point where the output that comes out of that land is not the same like back in the day. Yet we are supposed to feed higher populations. So you find that those traditional methods of farming are not helping us meet the food requirements that we have in the world today. Another thing, the climate change impact. Rainfall is not consistent. Sometimes it is there, sometimes it is not there, you know. Sometimes it delays, sometimes it comes like in large quantities. Again, the lands have been degraded because of overuse over so many years. And then you go to the markets, the profits are not as lucrative as they used to be before. And so there's a lot of challenges that now are affecting these people who are in agribusiness. And so this is me narrowing down the conversation to agriculture. Green innovation is very wide, but I'm just narrowing it now to food systems. So you find that there is a lot of challenges. Land is limited, productivity limited and degraded, populations are increasing, demand for food is rising, but we are not able to produce enough. People are dying of hunger in other places. In other places, we have plenty of food that is also going to waste. And that creates a challenge or a problem. And now for us to solve that, now that's where innovation comes in. You have to think about a solution to that problem. Where land is degraded, what should we do? Where land is small and we still need to produce a lot of food, what should we do? Where there's a lot of harvest and it cannot reach a market, what should we do? You know, where the food has reached the market and it cannot have a long shelf life, what should we do? And I think that's where now we start thinking about innovation. Can move to the next slide. So that I think this slide we can move on very fast. I already did that introduction of who we are and who Phi Consult is. But just to mention, as part of Phi Labs, there are so many things we do, but one of the main things, the three main things that we are doing, of course, Goose Innovation Week that happened last year. We have the Agritech AI Incubation that is yet to kick off, and I understand there are some of us here who will be participating. So the idea there is what I mentioned earlier. You have the idea, you have won in a context like this one, like people are going to be awarded this afternoon. But what next? That's where we come in. Our work is to just move you from the idea stage and make sure that you have built something that is scalable and a business out of it for you to earn money out of it. That's the whole essence of the incubation. And after the incubation, we have 5 ventures, which is a venture studio that works with you now to accelerate your growth. So there are different stages when you're building a business. You identify a problem, you ideate a solution, and you come and present that solution in a hackathon, in a pitch competition, etc. From that point, the next thing that is needed is to validate that that solution actually can work. And that's where incubation comes. We incubate you, we work with you to closely to connect you with the market. You have to go to work with farmers if you're in agriculture so that they test and see whether the solution you're presenting actually works. And after that, once it has been verified that it's actually working and needed in the market, what we call product market fit. So the product you have created is fit for the market. Once you have achieved product market fit, then the next level is scaling, what we call acceleration. And at that point, now you go into the venture studio. The venture studio now, these are tested, proven ideas that already have a few customers, and they now want to scale. So there we are getting you strategic partners, we are getting you suppliers, we are getting you customers, and we are helping you with all the legal stuff to just make sure that you are formally constituted and you can run as a business. You're no longer an idea, you're no longer ideating or testing, you are now scaling. That's where the venture studio comes in. And of course, from the venture studio, you graduate now. You can start having now capital from venture capitalists. Those are institutional investors. You can access bank capital. And as you scale over years, hopefully 7, 10 years, thereabout, you can start now accessing what we call private equity capital. Then you can scale. So we know our part as Phi Labs. We are not your venture capital private equity level. We are at this initial stage where most of you innovators are. So ideate, and then incubate, and then accelerate. So that's the main thing probably that I would just want to highlight on that slide. The rest I had already mentioned. We can move on to the next one. So we are done with the innovation imperative. Why it is important to innovate is because we have problems that are worth solving. Climate is not waiting for us, and people must eat every day. I love the food systems sector. I lead that practice in our consulting firm. Basically because I grew up in the farm, in the village, but at the end of the day, I also understand it's very important. All of us ate something for us to be here this morning. And so if you're able to solve problems around food, then we are solving a big problem. I love big problems, and I love solving big problems. And so we have to innovate around the climate change, around land degradation, around the small pieces of land that we have, so that the volume of output that we're having in terms of agriculture produce is low. We have a lot of problems there. So we need to think of how do we problem solve for those. Now when you talk about the green innovation, like I mentioned, it's very wide, and we can move to the next slide. That space is wide. Next slide, please. Yes, that is $10 trillion that you see there. So that is the potential of this green economy as of 2030 from research. It is projected that by 2030, the green economy will be worth $10 trillion globally. That includes your food, it includes your energy sector, it includes your transportation sectors, everything that is within the green economy. And that's a lot of money to think of. To put it into context, I think the global economy currently is at about 110, 120 trillion USD. Or closer home, the GDP of US is around 28 trillion. So when you're talking about, and that's a superpower who is doing everything, including bombing Iran. So when you think of 10 trillion, it's a big economy, it's a big market that you're looking at. And why I'm starting with that is because when you think of innovation, you have to think of them from a point of business. what is the business potential of what I'm doing? What market am I going for? And then once you're able to figure out the market, then you're able to see whether it is actually something that you can work around. So it's a big market. But as much as it is big, another thing that we find is Africa is most impacted by climate change compared to other developed economies. But we are the least contributors to climate change. And so we would expect that because we are highly impacted and we're the least contributors, that we would get a lot of support in terms of funding and capital flowing into the continent to support us in our initiatives of greening and our economies and the just transition. But shock on you, only 3% of all the climate finance in the world actually comes to the continent. So there's very little money coming, yet there's a lot that needs to be done. But again, when you see a lot of those challenges, we have a lot of floods, we have a lot of droughts that affect a lot of people in the continent. Now those big problems becomes your spark to think about problem solving and innovations, yeah? And so for us, we don't see the flip side of it, which is we don't have enough capital. As innovators, what we look at is these are big problems. And if I solve these big problems within this green space, then I'm also eyeing the big pie of 10 trillion US dollars. And that's a big number in all measure. If you try to convert it into Kenyan shillings, it's a very big number. So we have the chance as innovators to think through what can we do to help our countries and to help our continent to transition into a green economy that is sustainable. Remember, we are co-creating solutions for a sustainable future. Sustainable future means we have enough food, we have clean water, we can move using clean movement solutions or e-mobility and other solutions, that our houses and our factories are powered using clean energy. That's what sustainability looks like. And all that, when you add it up, it adds up to that amount. And that's why we need to think about how do we then get to problem solve for that. Next slide, please. So, back to my favorite sector again within the green economy space, agriculture. And for us in the business world, numbers speak better to us than theory. So just to put in context, within the agriculture space, more than 65% of labor in most African countries, this is in Kenya, but in most African countries, is within the agriculture sector. Some other countries is up to 70%, both directly and indirectly. But when you look at how much are they contributing to the economy and the growth of the countries, the numbers start shrinking. It goes to around 20 to 25%. And that is direct. When you add the indirect, it always goes beyond 40%. And so you find you have a big proportion of the human resource that a country has contributing less than their proportion of the population, which then tells you that these people, their productivity is not as high as it should be. Because if they are 65% of the population, I would expect that they are contributing 65% to the economy, but they are not. That tells you that we have a problem somewhere. Because when you go to the developed economies, they have very small percentage of the populations directly employed in agriculture. But agriculture and food systems contributes quite a big chunk of the economy. Countries like Netherlands, they are the second largest exporters of food or agricultural products in the world, yet they are just like a small country compared to the rest of us. So that tells you in our developing economies, we have a challenge where we are employing so many people in agriculture, and I know the government likes employment numbers going up, but employment numbers going up without productivity, it doesn't help. By the end of the day, we are still rotating in poverty. So we need to ask ourselves, why are we having so many people employed in this agriculture space, which is in the green space, but they're not producing as much to the economy? And that goes back to how are they doing their farming. So like my late grandfather, they probably are still deploying traditional farming methods. They are still trying to depend on the rain-fed agriculture for their production. They are still tilling on the same land, planting the same crop season after season. And so the productivity goes down. I mean, we could have so many reasons as to why that is not happening. But those reasons are challenges. And those challenges, they are what innovators now like hearing, because that's what triggers their minds to start thinking about solutions. When you look at land fragmentation and degradation, I think I spoke about this earlier. Most people in this country, in most part of this country, the land size is less than an acre that is owned by the families. And there's so much you can do there because your house is there and you're also growing crops there, you know? So it becomes very difficult to actually produce enough for the country. In some places like where I come from, my Oshago, here in Kisii, the land is so small, you are wondering, and you know for us we bury within the same inherited land. So are we going to leave it as a graveyard? Are we going to build, or are we going to farm? It becomes a challenge. So there's the fragmentation of land as population increases, population pressure is real, and then the degradation because we are tilling it over and over and using chemicals over and over that are also, reducing the quality of soil. Now, even the little that we produce, statistics show 40% of it doesn't reach the end consumer. So we again having another problem. The land is smaller, producing lesser, and whatever you're producing is not reaching the market. 40% is going to waste. Yet there are people who are dying of hunger in other parts. That again creates another problem, that you're producing, but you're not able to get markets. So how again do we solve for that? That becomes a point of reflection for innovators. Okay, they have harvested, but they're not getting to market. So where could be the challenge be? And this is where you do what we call the value chain analysis. And you're trying to find at what point do we have leakages? Is it at the farm? Is it during transportation? Is it during warehousing? Is it during the distribution or retailing? Where do we have a break or a challenge? And you could do all those things right, but you find at the end of the day the food gets to the table and there's still a lot of wastage within households. And so another innovator could be thinking of, why do we have a lot of food being thrown away from hotels? How can we solve for that? Even at a household level, how can we make sure that the food rations that are being cooked are actually commensurate to the capacity of the family to eat, so that we don't have a lot of food being thrown away? So when you think of innovations around, when you think of sustainability, there's another component actually of reducing waste, what we call circularity or circular economy, where you want to reduce and minimize waste as much as possible, so that whatever you have, the little you have can take you longer. So when you think about green innovations, and I know there are those who participated in the hackathon last year at the Goose Innovation Week, I think there was a lot of solutions around the production side. People think of the farmer a lot, but sustainability is not just at the farmer level. It is also along the whole value chain. Who is transporting the cold chain solutions so that perishables can reach the market? We're talking about waste management at the restaurants, at households. How do you manage that, you know? What solutions do you come up with so that food can be stored longer in households? I mean, you could say there are fridges. How many people can afford that? How do we innovate around that for a solution that works for our rural communities? And so those are the things that we should be thinking about and triggering our thought process, so that we reduce this food wastage from 40% down to 10%. Because by merely reducing the food wastage, we'll be solving the food crisis big time, even before we increase productivity. So as some innovators are dealing with how do we increase productivity, others are dealing with how do we reduce waste. Cumulatively, you find that we have solved this food crisis issue. So think broadly, don't just be limited to specific lines of thought. Next slide, please. So I think I've laid my foundation on and made my case on green innovation, squarely landing it on food systems, because I believe food security is not only a matter of national interest, but is also a matter of national security. If the country cannot feed itself, then it becomes susceptible to influence from outsiders. And you cannot have national sovereignty if you don't have food sovereignty. That's the thing I believe. I don't know whether everyone agrees. But if you're hungry and you're not able to feed yourselves, then any other party from outside can come and influence even your policies and governance. But once you're able to feed yourself as a country, then you have even time to think of innovations and how you can build your country. So I equate food security to national security and to national sovereignty. And that's why I chose to focus on it under the green innovation. There are so many other things, like I mentioned earlier, that you could have looked at, but that's the area that I chose for today. Now, building on that journey that you're taking together, we have seen that we need to innovate. It's important that we innovate because the problems we have and the challenges we are facing in the continent are big, and we cannot wait for developed countries to come and solve them for us. Like I mentioned earlier, don't think locally, think global, think regional. Build a solution that I can take, go to Ghana and deploy, go to Tunisia and deploy, go to wherever and deploy in this continent. And then we have seen that within the green space, we have a huge market there, $10 trillion worth of economy by 2030. But we have very small amount of money coming to this continent to support us in meeting those climate change challenges that we're having. And so we have to be innovative, and we have to create our own solutions that work for us locally. But when you look at the food system or agriculture, and you try to solve for it in isolation, then you miss a big point. Because agriculture does not exist in isolation. We don't just plant food and that's it. This food needs to be transported. This food needs to be stored. This food needs water. I read the other day that the world is facing a water crisis, a serious one. Yeah, I can see people nodding. It might not sound true, especially if you're in Kisii. You have so many rivers and water all over. But the world is facing an acute shortage of water, and it is projected that into the future we might have a serious issue in accessing clean water for drinking and for cooking and for our day-to-day use. And that is as a result of competition between, of course, there's climate change, which is causing longer droughts, shorter rains, etc. So we have less rain generally because of climate change. And number two, and when they come as floods. And number two, we have growing population demanding more food. And so we are using a lot of water in irrigation and other things. So there's a lot of clean water that should be used for human consumption that is being used for growing crops. And so the issue of water and agriculture becomes a component that we also want to think about. How do we utilize the water that we have? And we have our good professor from Turkana. Of course, they have the lake. But again, you cannot consume the water from the lake directly, yeah? And we know those are arid areas. So the question becomes, the populations that live there, they also need food. And they need to produce their own food there. When you talk about sustainable food systems, you don't want to produce the food in Kisii and transport it all the way to Turkana using fossil fuels that are also polluting the environment. Remember carbon emissions. You want to reduce your carbon emissions. So we want the food produced closer to the people that are consuming it. And then the question becomes, in Turkana where we have water scarcity and other places that are arid and semi-arid, how do we innovate around the usage of water? so that we support food systems. So water becomes a component that is very important when you're thinking about food systems and innovations for green innovations basically within the food systems. So that is number one. And we can move to the next slide at this point. So water becomes something that you have to think about critically when you're thinking about green innovations in food systems. We need to innovate around how do we minimize water wastage when we are doing our farming. And I think there are technologies around that already in the market. But how do we improve them? How do we make them better? As an innovator, yours is always to improve and make things better. How do we make them better so that you're able to use the little water available more efficiently? We're talking about energy. Like I said, this food needs to be moved from the farm to the market. There's that transportation. This food needs to be preserved, cold storage that requires energy. This food needs to be, some of the agricultural products need to be value added. So value addition manufacturing. In all these processes, you're using energy. Even if you're doing irrigation at the farm, you're using energy. If you're farming using machinery, you're using energy. So again, we start thinking about sustainability from an energy point of view within the food systems. And so you could be actually innovating within the green space under food systems, but your focus is specifically on how do we reduce the energy requirements, or how do we make, or how do we enhance energy efficiency for tractors that are used in farms. So you're not even dealing with the farmer themselves, you're not even dealing with the food, you're just dealing with energy consumption of the tractors or the spraying machine or whatever it is. You could be an innovator thinking about cooling. These guys have milk that they're producing. How do we preserve it until it gets to the market? These guys are producing fish. How do we make sure the fish gets to the market while it's still well preserved? You need energy for that. So you start thinking about the cost of energy, because if you're thinking about a business and the cost of energy is so high, it stops making business sense. Remember, as an innovator, yours is not just to come up with good ideas. It's about coming up with ideas that can then be commercialized and scaled into businesses. And one of the key things in business is you have to manage your costs. You have to manage your costs very well for you to run a sustainable business. And so efficiency in energy use, very important. And when you talk about sustainability and talk about the just transition, which is basically moving from fossil fuels to cleaner and renewable sources, now that becomes another area for innovation. I mean, right now people are doing a lot of solar panels. Do we have some in the institution? Yeah, okay. So that's the transition people are transitioning into, solar power, which is clean and renewable. Of course, there are issues about when it gets to the end of its life, what do you do with the panels? Again, you are kind of, again, destroying the environment as you dispose them. But before the 20 years lifespan ends, at least you'll be using cleaner energy and not emitting carbon into the environment. So people are moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy. How do we develop new technologies that are suitable for our market? At the consulting firm, we work with a lot of energy companies, renewables at different levels, household level, commercial level, mini grids, and others. And all our clients, all of them, in any part of this continent, all of them, they import solar panels. And I don't think that technology is so difficult that if you collaborate with our doctors and professors here as innovators, I think those are things that you can be able to develop locally. So again, don't think of outrageous things like, have they landed on the moon? I saw there were some guys who were going to the moon last week. Is it last week? Yeah, or they were just scouting. They haven't landed. Don't think of those crazy big things that are outrageous there. Just think of basics. We need energy, reliable, clean energy. And I'm in engineering school. Can I innovate around us developing our own locally that are effective, that are cheaper and affordable, and create a business out of it. Because I can guarantee you, I talked about water shortage. We are going to have an energy crisis in the near term. Why? Because we are moving into the AI era. AI is basically some machines that are using a lot of energy. And a lot of governments are investing a lot of money in the energy sector to power AI. Even our government itself, it's actually investing a lot in that space. We have the geothermal that is green and clean in Naivasha, and we're having multinationals coming. I don't know whether it is Amazon or Google, one of them, or Microsoft, that is coming to have their data centers in our country so that they use that energy. So there's going to be competition for energy between households, industries, and AI data centers. And so we need to start thinking around, if the grid gets connected to data centers because they are giving a lot of money, paying in dollars to the government, and they start rationing households, how do we survive? And you had started your small manufacturing or value addition of some products in the village. How do you power that? Because if the demand for power is high, then they might give us, all of us, power, but the tariff will be higher. Again, affordability becomes an issue. So how do you start innovating around the solutions that we can provide locally? Clean and renewable sources. You could go solar, you could go wind, you could go hydro, you could go biogas. Yeah, you could do biofuels that can be created from plants. And that's another area for those who are in biology and those kind of sciences. So this innovation cuts across. It's not only about tech and what have you. And then you're talking about the food itself. Of course, we want to produce secure food, nutritious for human consumption. And again, in the whole process of food production, there's a lot that needs to be done. Like I mentioned earlier, as the land gets smaller, we need to start thinking of how do we produce more within smaller spaces. People are doing hydroponics. Now I hear there is aeroponics. You don't even need water. Or, okay, you need water, but you don't need a lot of it. So people are innovating vertical gardens. These things might sound like far-fetched ideals, but as the population increases and you have population pressure in agricultural areas, we'll be forced to think of how else do we then get to produce enough food for ourselves. And so that becomes an area of focus also. I know it is debatable on GMOs, genetically modified foods. That's a big debate, I understand. There are a lot of conspiracies, but also there are also facts about them. But we need also our biologists and scientists to also guide us on how can we enhance different varieties so that we are able to produce more with whatever resources that we have. You know, if it is beans, how can we make that bean variety produce more? Because the problem here is hunger, and make sure that it is also safe for consumption, so that you're not just producing and harmful food. So there's a lot of things to think about, irrespective of which department or school or college you are in. There's a room for innovation. I think that's what I'm trying to derive at here. That you can look at the vertical within the school or the course that you're doing, and you'll find there's something you can do or you can innovate around and provide a solution that can be commercialized and scaled. And like I said, we want to do this beyond borders. Don't just be thinking locally. You should be sitting here and thinking about there are people who live in Saudi Arabia and is a desert. Those people need to eat. What are their problems and how do I solve for them? Now that's thinking big and better. And that's the kind of thinking that we encourage and we support anyway. We want to support people who can scale. So the last thing on that welfare framework is ecosystem. So as we do all these things, we need to preserve or conserve the ecosystem. We need to make sure that the environment that you're living in is conserved for future generations. You know, we inherited it from the people who were before us. At least they were able to keep it safe for us. We also need to keep it safe for posterity. And so as we do the food production, as we try to manage our waters, as we try to think about energy, everything should be done to restore the environment, which is already degraded. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done around restoration of our environments. And when I talk about restoration, it's not only in the arid areas, but also in the places where you would say they have sufficient rainfall. We have cut down a lot of these trees. We have over-cultivated the land. And so we need to start restoring the land and to, regenerate it so that it can be useful for future generations. Because if productivity have gone down in land by more than 50%, you can imagine 2-3 generations to come, they just be having bare rocks that they cannot utilize. So we need to also to make sure that whatever we are doing as we innovate, all those solutions must take care of the ecosystem, and we must be regenerating and restoring our ecosystems. And next slide, please. And just to look at the WEF nexus, or the water, energy, food, and ecosystem nexus. So when we talk about water scarcity, and this slide is basically to give you some examples that are already existing, just to show that these things are not outrageous. There are things you can do, there are things you use every day. When you talk about water shortage, and we need water for irrigation, because you cannot depend on rain-fed agriculture because of climate change, and so we are now doing green innovations around that. Sun Culture, they do solar irrigation. It's a company in Kenya, and they have raised quite a lot of money. Speaking of money, that's what I do for a living, fundraising for businesses. And they have raised quite a lot, in millions of US dollars, to just make sure that solar irrigation is happening. And then, of course, there's a lot of technology around it to just make sure that the right amount of water is being used wherever it's needed. When you talk about energy, there's M-Copper. They just built those solar panels that can go mashinani, and they're useful for phone charging, for TV, for kinyozis, and those kind of things. They are solving real problems for real people. Remember, when you talk about, there's the whole aspect about us solving all these things for the community. In this Innovation Week, that's why I like the theme even. It is community oriented. And these things are happening within our country. When you look at food and how the food gets into the market and the wastage we were talking about, some farmers are not able to get the market because they just don't have the infrastructure, or they don't have the connection to the market. And Trigger Food came and they just provided that, and I believe they were working in this market. They started with bananas. That's why I'm suspecting they probably worked here, but I know they worked in Central, Meru, and other places. So they would collect and connect to the market, and Mama Mbogas would have the bananas by morning. And they kind of figured out an online platform that does that. So these are people who are not farming themselves, neither are they value adding or doing whatever. They just created an innovation that now helps collect and connect to the market. Simple things that are solving big problems. We talked about 40% wastage. Part of that is because this food cannot get to the market. And if you just come up with a simple solution that connects these things to the market, you have nailed it. But of course, along the way, you include a bit of cold chains and stuff, just to make sure that the food doesn't go into waste. And when you talk about ecosystems, is what I basically was talking about. We need to restore our lands. And currently, we are working with a conservancy in Kajiado County, just restore their land. They have good species of animals there that would go extinct. They have very beautiful giraffes and other wild animals there. So once you restore the environment, those wild animals come back, and the whole community can now benefit from ecotourism and other activities. They can also use those forests, because we are also replanting trees there, for apiculture, beekeeping, and they earn a living. So you need to think holistically when you're thinking about this nexus, and as you think of the solutions and the innovations that you come up with. Speaking of apiculture, I heard of an innovation the other day where some innovators have come up with a solution, an innovation that detects basically the whole environment around the beehive, the temperatures, how they are buzzing and everything. And all that data is fed back to the system to assess their health, their status, and even be able to predict the production levels way before it is done. Which is me now starting to talk about my next step, which is AI and how it can help us in this whole journey of green innovations. Yeah. So you don't have to think of crazy stuff. You can specialize within a certain value chain. You can think of maize and just innovate around how do we increase productivity, how do we preserve it for longer, how do we increase the nutritional content in it. There are so many things we can do about that. And then that's just one crop. You can think of livestock, think of poultry, think of livestock like cattle or any other thing, goats. There's so many things that are going on there. And especially the goat, I hear there's a huge demand in the Middle East, yeah? A lot of exports happen that route. So you could think of how do we increase productivity, how do we make them more disease resistant or stuff like that. So the innovations don't only have to be tech kind of side of things, there's also biotech. You can innovate around biotech and those life sciences side of things. Now that lands us on AI-powered solutions. AI is a tool to help us in the green innovation. Yeah. So, again, back to my food systems. I love food. I don't eat as much as I love it. I would love to eat more. But when you use technology and AI in food systems, and these are research that has been proven over and over, because for us AI might be a new thing that we are catching up with. In other developed economies, these things landed a long time ago. You are able to increase your yield per acre or per whatever size of land you're using by up to 40%. And this is because of using artificial intelligence, which gives you exact information about the soil nutrients, the temperatures, the water content, gives you information about the health of the crop, and you're able to manipulate those factors to make sure that you produce more. Also, it helps you in the biotech and life sciences side of things to think of how to develop better crops that can give you higher yields. The other beautiful thing about AI or artificial intelligence, when you use it to support the green innovations, is it helps you in making very precise decisions. So through computer vision, you're able to monitor your farm, you're able to monitor all the activities that are happening in the farm, and then you're able to make the right decisions in terms of water, in terms of fertilizer, in terms of pesticide, in terms of herbicides. So you're not just spraying kienyeji, you're just giving it the right amount, because again, overusing of these inputs have also environmental side effects. You know? So you just want to use the right amount. When growing up, my dad used to have a few cattle, and I think it used to be on a Sunday morning, we used to take them to a cattle dip. So they would go and then just walk through a cattle dip, and they bath and move to the other side. You'd imagine how much of inputs they are using there. Then at some point they got the knapsack sprayer. And then again you're spraying all over and wasting a lot. But with a lot of these technologies, you're able to do things in a precise way. If you go to a farm, you don't even spray the soil. You just spray the weeds that you want to kill. And those are some of the things that we need to be thinking about. How do we become more efficient in our inputs? So AI becomes the tool that helps us to scale whatever it is that we want to do. And I think those in the computing school understand this much better than everyone else. So next slide, please. As we wind up. So these are just basically AI applications. Some examples just to trigger your thinking. Remember, I'm here just to trigger your thinking on what could be, what can be done. And then if you're already building something around this space, now how do we enhance it further? So in terms of predictive, so AI in food systems does a couple of few things. One is climate prediction. So it helps you to, through satellite, drone imagery, and other sensors, you're able to predict the weather and how it's going to be. That means you're able to plant the right time, or if the rains are going to delay, you are able to know when to do what. You're able to know when to harvest, etc., because you're able to predict weather. Number two, what AI can help you do in food systems is it can help you to optimize your inputs, resource use optimization, where instead of spraying the whole farm, you spray exactly where the plants are. If you want to kill the weeds, you don't spray everything, you kill the weeds specifically. Actually, I saw another technology where they are using laser beams to burn the weeds. So as the tractor moves, it has some extensions and just goes. The AI is able to pick the weeds and sends laser beams to them and they burn. And it's done. And you have not even, tilled and disturbed the soil. So there's a lot that can be done around optimum resource use. And you become more efficient because you're using less fertilizer, you're using less herbicides, pesticides, all this, including water if you're doing irrigation. The water is taken specifically to a crop at the time when it needs it, because the sensors, the cameras that are there, they are able to detect when and how much of water the plant needs. So there's a lot that can be done there. That's now us talking about precision agriculture, but also on the value chain side of things. After you have harvested, you are cooling, your understanding of the market. You can build an AI that collects all market data and knows we need cabbages in Migori, or we need more sukuma wiki in Bomet, and you are able to direct your products to the right markets. So again, on the supply chain side of things, also in warehouses, in storage and cold chains, where you have the sensors and the whole concept of Internet of Things. All this data is being collected and they're all communicating, and you're able to know how much is left in the warehouse, how much is almost expiring, without having to do physical inspections. There's so many solutions you can build within this green innovation space. And I think that's what I wanted to deliver. And I've just tackled one thing, food. And I've not even gone into the value chains. I've not gone into the individual products. I've just brushed through. And already you can see there's so much that can be done there. And so I would like to invite you on this journey of green innovation. Let's think together. Let's brainstorm. I understand there's an innovation club that was launched, right? Let it not be just a place where people meet and talk. Let it be a place where we come and challenge each other, where we come and share thoughts. What have you seen? What have you heard? In the news, they have announced, we have this hunger coming, what do we do? In the news, they have said there is Iran, whatever war, and so the fuel cannot come. How do we start thinking of alternative fuels? That's what innovation clubs should be about, and I'll be glad to come later and probably after a year and hear that this club innovation or innovation club has moved, and among the many areas that they have been innovating on, one of them is the green space, and these are the innovations they have come up with. I'll be glad to hear that story. So, how do we move forward? I think I already started that. You cannot innovate in a silo, and this is where collaboration becomes important. In entrepreneurship, there's what we call the quadruple helix model of innovation, and this model just says when you're innovating, and that's why I like the theme for this innovation week, the community must be at the center of it. They're the people who are facing the problems, so you must innovate with them. You must talk to them, hear them, understand their problems, and then develop the solutions. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to go and hear from them or visit them. You can find the stories in the news, etc. So the community becomes an integral part when you're thinking about innovation. And when you're building startups, because from an idea then you start building a startup, which is now a business. There's a concept we call lean startup methodology, where you want to go and test very fast with the customers and see if it works, and develop what we call a minimum viable product that then you can take into the market. And for you to be able to have a minimum viable product that then gets to meet what I said earlier, product market fit, where the product now meets the needs of the market, you must have consulted the market for you to know the taste and how they like the solution, right? So the community becomes a very important part of innovation, and that's why I would like to encourage that the Innovation Club don't make it a theoretical in-campus affair. Go out there and whatever you're innovating on. If you're innovating around water, electricity, around waste, go to the waste the dump sites. If you're innovating on waste, talk to those people, talk to the street boys there, talk to the people dumping, talk to the municipal council people who are collecting. That's how you get to innovate. You don't innovate in rooms. Otherwise, you'll have a solution that is chasing a problem, and you never find the problem, and you never scale. So the community becomes a very important part. Number two, public sector. We live in organized societies, and in organized societies we have governments, and these governments have their rules and regulations on how they operate. So as you start thinking about innovation, something that we have found out, there are some people who come to us, they want to expand, they want to grow, they want us to help them get funding, and they want to scale to another country. They have done something that works in Kenya, they want to go to Uganda. And they have invested a lot of money on that, only for them to realize in Uganda the law does not allow. So you need to think about policy. I know most of us think policies are for parliamentarians and the lawyers and whatever. But if you're an innovator, you cannot innovate outside policy. Be sure, your innovation will be killed before it starts. So we need to bring the conversation of policy to our innovation spaces. And I believe that's another area that the Innovation Club will be dealing with. Bring policy conversations. What are the laws and the regulations that govern food, that govern energy, that govern water, that govern ecosystems and how they are preserved? If you were to follow the welfare framework that I just shared. You must know the laws that govern water in Kenya. I just passed by there and I was told that there is one of the exhibitors who are doing something around water and municipal whatever. By the time you build that whole solution, make sure you're already talking to the people in that space. There are some guys who are trying to build a solution for waste management, and I know right now we have a policy around separation of waste at source and etc. plastics, biodegradable and biodegradable and stuff. But for you to implement that, there were people who wanted to come up with companies that now implement that and bypass these guys who collect with trucks. And they were shown, is it called shege? They were shown fire, yeah? Because those guys eat from that business, and you are coming to bring your own solution and you want to throw them out of business, you're not going to survive. But the point I'm making here is you need to know who are the players in the market, you need to know the policies the government has put in place, the regulations that are there, especially on a topic like food. You need to understand all the regulations that govern what you're doing before you actually deploy it. On energy, what are the regulations we have in this country? When you talk about renewable energy, what can be done, what cannot be done? You need to understand things, including things like taxes and tax incentives. There are some tax incentives that are being offered specifically actually for green innovations. E-mobility is one of the beneficiaries of such. Some of the e-bike companies in Kenya, they have some tax incentives when they're importing the parts for them to do the local manufacturing. So you need to acquaint yourself with these kind of things. So innovation does not just happen on the product alone when you're working on it. It also happens around an ecosystem. So you knowing what's going on is very important. So I won't dwell so much on that. I'll go to the private sector. A before I land on private sector, I'll go back to academia, because now we're in academic institution. Our work here is research, basically. And research is about what's happening out there in the society, in the community. What are the new things, or how do we solve these problems? And I believe we churn out a lot of good reports and research papers that if there was a collaboration between the researchers and the students, the innovators, then would solve a lot of our problems out here. And we need to connect the research to the market. It should not be about just submitting that research and you finish your school, you graduate. It should be about what am I solving? What value am I adding to the society through this research? Very important part. And then I bring in the private sector. And this is where now, like I said earlier, our work is to build these businesses, and our work is to connect you with capital and other strategic partners. So private sector needs to invest in these solutions. Private sector needs to support in building these solutions. And so I see the 4 quadrants that needs to work together. Academia, they are doing a lot of good research. They have the facilities. There's a lot of funding that can be applied for research from Europe, US, wherever. But you will need to connect it with the market. And the private sector now becomes the link through which now you're able to connect this to the market. And if you are working with the community at the base, and you're also aware of the government and the policies they are putting in place, and if the policies are not favorable, you are lobbying for favorable policies, then we are able to have a thriving innovation ecosystem. So that's my submission today, that as we end the Innovation Week, let's start thinking of how do we move the conversations we have been having in these rooms, whatever we have been displaying out there, how do we move it now from the confines of academia to the realities of the markets out there? And that's where all these other partners come to play. And as a leader in this ecosystem, I always have things to think about and things to suggest. And this is what I thought I should suggest for our region. That as southwestern Kenya, this region, Bomet, Gori, Homa Bay, Kisii, Nyamira, it's agricultural. As Kenya, we are known as a silicon savanna, no? Yes. We can be this green silicon savanna, where we actually have the innovation clubs like we already do. We have innovators generating ideas. We have private sector, Labs and others in the market who we can work with to take these ideas to the market. And then over time, we get to build an innovation fund. Like I told you, only 3% of green finance comes to the continent. But we need to attract more. We cannot attract more finance if we don't show what we're able to produce. So we need our researchers, our academia developing these solutions. We need private sector players who are helping, develop these ideas further into businesses and viable and scalable startups. And then you're able to attract funding to fund their scaling. So my submission today is, over the next 5 years, this region, because we are known for agriculture and is a green region, we should have done these things. So in the next 1 year, establish innovation labs, and we pilot this kind of projects. We already have the innovation club here. We have Labs. It's across the road in this street. So we can collaborate and start working on innovations within water, energy, food, and the ecosystem. And then in the medium term, the products that come out of that, our work at Labs is to nurture them, showcase them, and scale them. We scale them and showcase them to the world, and we get the right support that we need for us to grow them. And then over time, and this is why I was telling you to think big and think beyond your local constituency, is we need to scale and export these solutions to the world. All of us today are using ChatGPT, we're using Gemini, we are using LinkedIn, we use X. All these are solutions that were created by some innovators in the US, in Europe, wherever. And they exported to the world. The same thing we could do as well. Develop our niche. Of course, we cannot create another Facebook. It will not be competitive. Or you can try it because China has tried something, WeChat and others. You can only have one WhatsApp that is like global. But you can create solutions in these different segments of the green space and that you can take to another country. If you have a solution for livestock or dairy, I mean, any community that has dairy or livestock farming, they'll be able to use it and you can scale it out. So as you think about your innovations within the green innovation bracket, and specifically where I focused on today, food systems, think what can I build that can go beyond our borders, that can be scaled. Don't solve for your boma. You know, unaweza kuwa nyumbani, you have a certain challenge you are doing probably millet and you are innovating around that product only and in a very specific way to your family. It might not help. It will be a good idea, we'll clap, we'll award you a certificate, but you'll not turn it into a business. When you're thinking about that problem, think of, do other farmers doing millet face the same across other parts of the world, and then create a solution that works for them. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end of my presentation with a call, a clarion call, for us to think about all the different aspects of green innovation and put them into action and collaborate, academia, private sector, public sector, and the community. And I think if we do that, then we'll be able to make some progress. Thank you very much for lending me your ears, and I believe we shall be meeting later in the day as we do the awarding of the innovators who are here. Thank you very much.
We want to have a very brief session, a plenary session for question and answer, and we'll be asking our guests to come at the dais with Dr. Tombe. But before that, allow me recognize and appreciate the Dean School of Law. You can just wave. Dean School of Pure and Applied Sciences, kindly wave. I saw the Dean School of Arts and Social Sciences somewhere. I think we also had the Dean of Students. We have members of faculties from different schools. Wherever we are, we could just wave. Kisii University, thank you very much. So, Dr. Tombe, we want to dance a little bit. You know, this innovation, we are still Africans. So, ambia jirani simama. We are in Kisii land, and the professor from University of Turkana may go away and say, I never heard of any Kisii song when I was there. So we just want to stretch as we dance this, a gift to the Turkana University, that when you were in Kisii, there was some nice music. So DJ, if you're ready, you can give us your test, your choice, and we can stretch a little bit and dance, even as we think about the questions. Meanwhile, our guest was talking about real solutions for real challenges.
Your for a very informative presentation and keynote. You've taken us through a very interesting innovation journey, and you spent quite some time to speak about the DAY4 framework, which revolves around water, energy, food, and that forms kind of an ecosystem. And right there, we can have all sorts of innovation, you know, from improving productivity to improving on transportations in terms of logistics, to making sure that we can use or utilize solar energy, which is actually renewable, and so forth. So I see this as an opportunity where innovators actually can innovate within that framework and provide solutions. So it's a rich ecosystem within that framework. So I want to pose one question to you before I open up to the other members to ask the questions. So this innovation, we've got students who have been trained for different disciplines, from computer science to mathematics to health to business and so forth. So when they think of innovation, where should they start? Should they start from, how do I get this big idea where I make big money? Or what is the gap that I need to address for me to make this money? So where do we start? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. So I'll speak from a business point of view. I'm a businessman. We advise businesses. I'm very commercial oriented as an individual and the organizations I work for. So if your solution, with all due respect for people who do NGO work and good work for the society, I think they have their calling, they have their path. But if you're an innovator who wants to build a business, then the business case must be there for what you're building. And these, I mean, you must assess, who am I solving this for? How big is that market? Is that market growing or shrinking? And then that becomes an innovation now that can be commercialized. There are innovations that cannot be commercialized. They can be there for social good. That's also another whole aspect that people can focus on. But I would like to dwell on the lane where I'm an expert in, innovations that can be commercialized. So for those innovations, yes, you need to think about the market, you need to think about the opportunity and how big it is, because as you start building that startup, you'll be looking for partners, you'll be looking for funding. No one wants to fund a small idea that is not growing to anywhere. They want to fund big ideas that can scale. However, back to your question, there is that aspect of starting with the gap. You cannot overlook that. In business, you must first identify the problem or the challenge and then develop a solution for it. And then once you have a solution, then we assess, can that solution be scaled into a business that can be commercialized? So that step you cannot skip. You cannot start with a solution and then go back looking for, who am I solving this? Who can take on this solution? And you have seen quite a lot of that. Solutions that are looking for problems to solve. It should be a problem that you have identified and then develop a solution. And that's why you have the hackathons, the pitch days and pitch competitions. At that point, you are thinking about the problem and the solution. And like I said earlier, you then transition into incubation. It is during that incubation phase when we determine whether this is going to be commercially viable or not. But commercial viability is a must by the end of the day. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what I get, if I can put it in brief to the innovators, is that if you want to make money, you have to get a gap. So address that gap, and people will pay for that. So I think that is an insight that has been given to us by the speaker to the innovators in the room. So now I want us to have some questions. I will limit them to this side. Yeah, thank you. I can start with you.
Thank you so much. My name is Charles Moitui. I am the Dean School of Law. First of all, let me congratulate my in-law, we call him my brother, for this wonderful presentation. The presentation itself is innovative. So I am so impressed, I'm so encouraged by what you have presented here. Now, the critical question that arises is, how do all of us get involved in this whole innovation? For example, from the point of view, from the perspective of the law, we tend to think that we don't have much maybe to do, but today I have realized that we actually have a big role to play. Now, when we talk about innovation, we also must talk about the law, because they should be going together. We have an elaborate system that governs climate change, for example, both at international law and domestically. We have the Climate Change Act, and we also have the Biodiversity Act and the NEMA, and there should be enough. The question that now we need to address, even in terms of water, we have the International Water Convention, then we have the Water Act, then we now have a devolved system of government. In terms of the engagement we're having here, my main worry now is, should we start from the top or should we start from the bottom? Here we are at the bottom, which makes a lot of sense, because my brother says, can we have local solutions? We have problems that are national, but can we have a local solution? In other words, can we make a difference in the community within which Kisii University is built, isn't it? Can we have better management of our food? Can we manage our water properly? How do we sensitize the Mama Mboga about adaptation and mitigation, for example? So the question that I'm now posing, that was just a background, is in law we have what you call the duty bearer and the right holder. The right holder, all of us are right holders. We have the right to food, the right to water, we are right holders. The government is the duty bearer. It's the one that has the responsibility to ensure that people have security, people have food, people have enough water. How do we ensure that the government is properly sensitized so that they can, because it looks like the government has left it more to the private sector. We would have expected that even this symposium should be sponsored by the government. Now the question is the government, has it been properly sensitized on these things that we are discussing here, so that they can also be able then to take it up and kind of undertake a leading role in funding, in sensitizing the people, and making sure that whatever ideas that we have can be put into practice. Thank you.
Yes, just pass the mic on. Yeah, thank you. I think you know that question. We'll come to it.
Thank you. I have a question, and it focuses on the AI. Your presentation is that you are so much engaged in the community. And you know the people at the community level, they are not so much conversant about the AI thing. And here we are talking about community engagement and adoption of new technologies. How do you contextualize and ensure that the community is able to utilize the AI for sustainability? Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So the first question is around the right bearer and the duty bearer. So it's asking, how do we ensure that the government is well informed that what they're supposed to do in ensuring that we've got the food in place? And then, of course, us as citizens, what are we ought to do, you know? And of course, I believe you can give it from the dimension on what the government ought to do in ensuring that, you know, these innovations, they thrive for something.
So thank you, Charles, for the good question. So the first thing I would like to put across is innovation precedes policy. Innovation comes before policy. A good example was M-Pesa. Was it M-Pesa? Yes, M-Pesa came, and then there were no regulations around mobile money. The banks fought it. I remember it's being fought in Parliament. It was discussed. The banks that sponsored motions to fight M-Pesa, everyone right now uses it, and they have integrated mobile money to their systems. Of course, later on, the policies were made to support it. So for all innovators, the first point to note is you find a problem, start innovating immediately. Policy will follow. However, know the guardrails within which you are innovating so that you're not doing things that are outrageous. He talked about AI, and I'll come to it. Right now, we have an AI bill that has been introduced in the Senate. At the point when we had an AI strategy last year, March, this year, March, by now, 1 year later, we are now having a bill. And in law, in most of these regulations, they're usually created to kind of bar some things. So you might not have all the freedom to innovate the way you want if the law passes. Again, we are lobbying that in other quarters, just putting it out there for knowledge purposes. But what I'm saying is, once the government realized the world is moving towards AI, they started now creating the policies. We didn't have an AI bill before. Now we are going to have one. The same way, so for Safaricom case. So as an innovator, don't fear innovating. Some of us are in this ecosystem, in leadership, in associations, to lobby for the right laws that will allow you to do your work. I remember during Uhuru's time, I think it was towards the last year of his tenure, there was a law that was being passed to regulate tech, ICT, IT practitioners in Kenya. So basically you had to be registered and licensed and all those kind of stuff. And tech innovators thrive, they are students, they are young people out there, they are employees in a department who are creating solutions. And they are creating solutions based on the problem they are seeing. And so if you want them to be licensed before they can do anything around IT, it was actually a very obnoxious kind of bill. So what we did, we lobbied overnight. We had a lot of signatures. It was presented to Joe Mosheru at night. And the following day, the president was going to sign, and it was not signed. So that's why people can now innovate freely. That's why I'm telling you, just innovate. For as long as that law did not pass, you're free to innovate. And the policies will then be following. On how we can now support from a policy side of things, that's where the associations exist. If you're in fintech, there's the Fintech Association of Kenya. If you're in agriculture, there's a lot of lobby groups and associations for agriculture. So besides you innovating and creating your product, know which lobby groups and associations do I join so that our feedback can then be heard. Government will not come and listen to each and every one of us. And if you go yourself with your idea, the government will just assume you're a madman. But if you are an association, then people will listen. Someone likes giving a very good example. If you go to a market and you start screaming, people will look at you and laugh and think you are mad. But if 10 of us go into a market, strategically position ourselves and start screaming at the same time, everyone will pay attention and probably start screaming. So we need to be in associations. We need to know how to lobby so that whatever innovations are coming up, they can be heard by government. Organizations like KEPSA, they lobby a lot, and they have different segments in between them, or rather within KEPSA, healthcare, agriculture, whatever thing you want. So those are the lobby platforms that can be listened to by government. In terms of how government is working within this innovation ecosystem, it's not that they are not doing anything, and I'm not speaking for the government, I'm not an employee of the government, but I understand the systems that are there. I believe we had the CEO of Kenya a day ago. So that's Kenya National Innovation Agency. It's in the name, Kenya National Innovation Agency. So there's something from the government side towards innovation that is happening. Probably it's us to reach out and inquire more. Kenya, how can we collaborate? How can you support us in our innovation? And I know they're doing quite a lot of good work on research to commercialization. From 2022, I've also participated in some of the capacity building workshops for academia. So Kenya is doing something on research commercialization. It needs to be built and supported further. I understand within the same State Department of Science, Research and Innovation, we have NACOSTI, which is also having a component to do with science and technology and innovation. In terms of funding, you asked Charles about how they can fund. We have NRF, we have the National Research Fund. So it is not a matter of they don't know or the government is not aware. The government is very aware. The government has departments and institutions that are made to support these things. I think we just need to be more proactive to find them and approach them and see how we can collaborate and work with them and urge them to do what they're supposed to do to support us in our whatever initiatives we are doing. And one good example is Kenya that is supporting a lot of research commercialization. So I think that answers that question. Sorry I took long on that, but I think it was necessary just to make sure that everyone is at peace that they can innovate freely and that there's systems and that can support them from government. Sometimes they don't work as we would wish, but we need to approach them. In terms of AI and the community, that's a valid question. It's not only about AI, it's also about basic digital solutions that innovators create. You know, people create, doesn't even have AI, like a budgeting tool for farmer. And you want them to input the price when they buy inputs. You want them to input, I milked 2 liters in the morning, 3 liters in the evening. And what we found is every person is creating their own solution and trying to take it to the farmers. And there's farmer fatigue. So the first challenge that we experienced like 7 years ago when all these agri-techs started coming up is they were funded a lot by donor money, and the farmers would just use them or download them to tick box for you, and then they get the t-shirts or whatever it is that they were getting as an incentive, and they move on. And the moment you go, they stop using it, another donor comes, another product, etc. So by the end of the day, it turned out that we were creating very nice solutions in Nairobi and then trying to push them to farmers in the community. That's why I'm saying, I did say earlier in the presentation that in our innovation, we need to be community focused. You have to co-create with this community. You have to understand their capabilities. You don't bring a smartphone solution to a person who cannot even read. Yeah? So you need to use a model you call the human-centered design. Human-centered design is simply you are designing with the human that you want to support so that you understand their pain point, you understand their capabilities, and then as you develop the solution then gets to meet their needs. Now on AI specifically, what you are seeing happening currently is people used to have like these solutions that you could read about the diseases of your cattle or whatever. Nowadays, they are bringing in the voice component. The beauty of AI, you can even translate it to the local language. So, with a simple feature phone that can take in, or smartphone that can take in, voice commands, you're able to speak to it in your local language, take a photo of whatever disease you're seeing on your crop or animal, speak to it, and then it speaks back. So the voice part of AI is being developed, and that would solve a lot of these communication challenges for people who cannot read or write. Already translations have been done for reading. People can read local languages, but now the voice is the next bit. The challenge we are having is, on AI, is most of our local languages probably the whole vocabulary might not be already in the AI. When I say a problem, I see an opportunity. So someone should be thinking of, can we have a full Kisii vocabulary modeled into AI? If you go to ChatGPT and put something there in the real deep Kisii language, will it understand? Yeah, I think some people have done very well in Rwanda. Kenya-Rwanda is like almost clear there. So those are areas. If you go to Turkana language, is the language already embedded in the system. So that as they build the models, as these models are being built, they can learn from our local languages. I think that's an opportunity. It is a challenge, yes, but also an opportunity for those who would want to support in developing the large language models that are for local languages. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we'll take some few more questions, and I think the time that I was given is almost getting to close to, So I'll request that we take very short questions, and then I also request that we also give very brief answers that are, so that we are on time, so that the program continues. So that lady there, the mic, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gloria Moseti. I'm a final year law student, and my question centers on AI. So AI, we've seen that it's a tool that can be used to advance green innovation. But at the same time, AI is the chief waste tool. For example, for 20 queries to ChatGPT, I use 1 bottle of fresh water because the water is used to cool the systems of AI. So how are we using a system that is destroying the environment to promote green innovation? Why can't we focus on the knowledge that is being taught in school to leverage that knowledge instead of relying on machines and systems? We use the knowledge that has been imparted to students to innovate rather than depending totally on artificial intelligence and machines. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we answered that one. It's a very interesting question.
That's an interesting one.
Okay, one more.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rai Robara from Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. Yeah, the speaker talked about AI on how it can be able to assist a common mwananchi in agriculture. And my question is, in artificial intelligence, it's becoming a powerful part of common agricultural innovation, and it can help an ordinary person. But now, for example, in our country, Kenya, how can you be able to reach a common mwananchi in an interior area so that that person can be able to understand on how better he can be able to do the agriculture using the AI, and realizing that as a common mwananchi, sometimes we just do farming with illiteracy. How can you ensure that that person has really understood about crop selection, soil management, and even pest control? Because when you go to other counties like in Central Narok County, a farmer cannot just go and trim and go and plant anything on the shamba. But come to this our area in Kisii County, we are blessed. But you find that a farmer can be able to plant only 1 crop in 1 shamba, even for five years consecutively. How can you be able to help that interior person to understand the importance of AI in agriculture? Thank you.
Thank you. 2 very pertinent questions. So the first question was around AI and how much it consumes energy and water. So the context for water is basically for cooling the data centers, and they need a lot of water too, because they do a lot of processing, so they need a lot of water for that. And so it appears like it is counterproductive. You are using AI to try push for sustainability, but the AI itself is consuming too much water, too much energy. It's kind of not sustainable by itself. The benefits of AI, I think by the end of the day, they outdo the negative side, in my opinion, in this sense. One, the speed and the scale. Yes, we can lose the knowledge that you have learned in school, but if I want to triangulate what the knowledge Kisii University student has and the one from Turkana, AI will give me that result in a second. The other option would have been, I have to look for that other expert, professor, researcher from that other university. We have to meet somewhere and bring our knowledge together and try to build a solution. So AI, in one way, from a knowledge point of view, it brings in the speed and the scale that is needed. If I want to do proper farming on the ground, if I want to know how much water to water my farm, the AI will give me instant answers. It will tell me the right time of the day. It will tell me how much water, and it can be configured in such a way that it automatically just releases the right amount of water. I don't think the human capacity can do that for every crop in a large plantation. AI will do that for each crop in that whole large plantation and make sure that the pesticide, the fertilizers are just precise to the point. And you're able to scale. So when I look at AI, I'm looking at it from a point of speed of execution and the scale at which you're able to execute these solutions. Is it disadvantageous from a point of energy use and water use? Yes, I mentioned that in my presentation, that we'll be competing with AI for consuming water, literally. AI is drinking water when it is being cooled, and we need water for food. And that's why other solutions are being explored in terms of where do you put these data centers. There are concepts around deep sea for cooling purposes, where you don't have to use fresh water to cool them. And they are trying to do those kind of things. I think the big companies, I think it was Google, they put one of their data centers deep in the ocean. Of course, there are outrageous things that Elon Musk think of. They want to take data centers to the moon so that they don't have to use energy here. That's a story for another day. But yeah, there are side effects of anything, but I believe the benefits of AI outweigh the disadvantages. On how to work with remote communities, of course, there's that component of translations and what have you, but in terms of adoption now, so what we need to differentiate is the technology itself and the application. What you want to educate these people on is the application and how it benefits them. It's the user side of things. The complications about data centers, how the data moves, the computer visions and all those kind of things, leave those ones for the innovators. What the user needs is, just like M-Pesa, I just need to enter a number, money goes, money comes. How that happens is none of my business. So that is one thing. The next level is, as you deploy these solutions to the market, of course, if you're going to a place where people are not as literate, then you need to have what we would call field agents. Others call them champions, or whatever name you give them. But these are people who can now educate them and support them in using these solutions. If you just deploy to people who have not been exposed to them, it will be a waste of time. So that would be a model to actually implement. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Just as a wrap-up comment, this week I was reading the newspaper and came across an article which was talking about the enterprise levels, like in Kenya, for instance, and categorizing them around 4 of them, like the survival, the hustle, and the structured kind of economy. And we realized that in Kenya, mostly we do not have like malls which are structured where the harvest goes, and then of course consumers can get it there, and then of course the innovators can also be able to sell their solutions to those kind of setups. And of course, last week as well, I think last week part 1, I happened to be in an ecosystem where we've been training innovators, and I had a privilege to visit some incubation centers in South Africa. I think one of them was in Wits, and there was one also like on sales, 22 on sales, and others. So I see that within our institution, because this platform also gives us a platform also to champion for ideas. So we also need to see how the universities can also set up incubation centers, or we can work with various stakeholders, have some companies invest here, so that those production, we can actually translate the idea from the startup idea to a market-ready product. And we can have companies which are interested for those products, like Microsoft, Safaricom, come and probably partner with us, so that the university retains some kind of rights and the innovator, and then of course the market, the other companies can also be able to scale those kind of solutions. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much for the presentation. I want to thank everybody, and let's innovate, and as the university, let's take this forward by creating those a favorable environment for us to make our innovators to be able to thrive from taking the idea to market-ready product. Thank you so much.
Let's appreciate them better. The conversation continues. Thank you so much, Mr. Jeremy. Thank you, Daktari. We will continue with the conversation even after this. Allow me at this point, ladies and gentlemen, to move us to the next session. And in this particular session, we want to recognize that this particular week is a success because there was a committee. I don't know whether we have the members of this particular committee in the house, just to wave. As I also call upon the chair of the committee, Dr. Mosa, to just come over and just give some remarks. And then we quickly move to the award session. We know that we had a lot of innovation exhibits, and definitely among the innovation exhibits, there are those that we really need to work on. Our able judges in the house, where are we? We could also recognize you. Our able judges, I think they could be just around here. And later on, we'll be having one of the judges to just come and tell us what was on the ground, how can we make it better, and then we can award our best innovation exhibits. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Thank you so much for the chance. The registrar, academics, Kisii University, the representatives of FCs and the DVCs who are here from various universities, the representatives of the technical training institutions, that's the TVETs and their research sections, the high school that represented the high schools here, colleague lecturers, students, exhibitors from all the institutions and organizations that are here, our support system, the sponsors, the partners. Thank you so much for making it here. This event has been a success because of your presence, because of your commitment, because of your dedication. There were several ideas that were presented here. I have personally been awakened in a number of ways. The way we may have been looking at innovation in the past should have changed by at least something new that I believe that each of us has learned. The committee that was planning has already been recognized, but I want to say once again that as a chair of the committee, you have really supported it, being our inaugural event. And going forward, we wish to make it even better. To the universities that have made it from all the sections within the country, to the TVET, to the schools, thank you so much for being part of the history. You are too close to the history that you may not know it. The level of the innovations was high. We have been told on how we are going to make them better. Look at how we can work collaboratively within the departments, within our organizations, and maybe, if need be, work even across the institutions, work with our support system, work with the local community, so as to produce results, to produce innovations that can serve. We have been taken through how to innovate, how to patent, how to even implement and make the ideas better. Going forward, let us try as much as possible to innovate, look at what problems are there, how we can solve them. It has also been told to us very clearly that we can innovate in all fields. We can work collaboratively, look at what law can come in with, what business may come in with, what science may come in with, what about the society? So that once we are going to solve the problems, how can they be readily accepted? And if there are any mitigations that need to be done, how do we go about them? I'm greatly humbled by what all of us have been able to do, and look forward to more fruitful engagements. Various universities, various organizations, various institutions have got events. Let us support one another to produce solutions for our community, solutions that are sustainable. Thank you very much for making it a success. We don't take it for granted.
A better round of applause for the able chair. If he was to be added a name, another name will be innovation. He's really passionate about innovations. And I would really now want to take this opportunity to move us to the award sessions. Semeni Award. Hapa ndio unaweka smile, wanafunzi weka smile. Semeni Award. It's good to be appreciated. It's good to be motivated. We had an able team of the judges that walked around every innovation exhibit, and they are ably represented here by Dr. Lale, who will come on board and just tell us what is it that they were looking at. How can we make our innovations even better? And then he will also take charge to call upon the winning innovators who are going to go home smiling with some form of appreciation. Let us put our hands together for Dr. Lale. Karibu Daktari.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. To our chief guests, the university management, innovators, sponsors that we have with us here. It has come that time that we want to see what you have been innovating, and we had the opportunity with our judges to go through, and I can assure you that if we were to use the normal ranking that is being done currently, you are all having EE, that is exceeding expectations. Because we looked at what you are exhibiting or what you are showing, and I was able to see the curiosity in you turned into a tangible product. That itself speaks volume, because it is you who is able to see the problem, either the old problem or the emerging problems, with a new lens of innovation. Then the new solutions will be able to come. Our guest speaker said, and there's something that you might have passed without you noticing, that the world is full of problems. So where to innovate is not a problem, because they are already problems. So let us look at the problems with a different lens, and then we'll be able to get a solution. Now, we looked at all the products, what you are showcasing, and we have different categories that I will call upon. And since you all participated, and I said that if I were to award somebody, all of you, I will still give it as EE, exceeding expectation. You will all have your certificates. It's only that they are still being signed, and some, especially our in-house students, there are some that will be told to come and collect their certificates or some of their gifts later on. But for our visitors, if you have won in any of the categories, please, we will acknowledge you, and you will go with your certificate plus your trophy. Now, at this point, of course, the certificates are still being signed, so if there is a delay, please bear with us. We had different categories, and there are many, over 13 categories, and we were able to receive good applicants. Now, if we don't call you, or if I don't mention your name here, it does not mean that your innovation does not meet the threshold that we require. It only means that we are giving you a chance. There are some particular items that we noted that requires you to go and build on, so that in the next time or next place where you are going to showcase your work, it will be even the best one. So by just participating itself shows that you're a winner. But if I don't call your name, it is just an opportunity to go back, also work together, and then you are able to work well on your project. Try to tie the loose ends that we were able to come across, that we have also identified through the interactions that were there, that next time it will be much better, more superior than it is today. So there is no offensive in this. The first category that we have is on mental health. And allow me to call straight on. And the person who will come to award on this is Dr. Njurai. We had 1, 2, 3. And I will call them, and they will stand, but I will request number 1 to come in front. The first innovation under the mental health, we have the mind care. Where is the mind care? Please come in front. And okay, Anthony Mwendwa, where is your team? You can also come with them, but you come together. The institution is Kisii University. Anthony Mwendwa, just come. Then we have number 2 and 3.
Excuse me, if you are branded in your institution's shirt and you're coming to pick the prize, that is the pride in this thing. So you are in, whether you're in Kisii Poly, Nyamira, Kisii University, please come in your institutional attire, if it is there. Thank you.
Number 2 and 3, we will. I will request that they will collect their awards immediately after we are done with this ceremony. They are still doing some work on it, but we request you to stand so that we are able to acknowledge you before, after the certificate, after the award has been given to the first one. So the Mind Care group, Anthony Mwendwa and the group, please give them a clap. In the same category of mental health, please allow the following to stand so that we are able to give them applause. We have the Headspace, Wau Mushemi from Kisii University, and Tulia Mind. Tulia Mind, please acknowledge them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The 2, you will see the organizers immediately after this, okay? Under another category, we have the finance and business. The finance and business, we have number 1, and I will request Dr. Gutwa to come forward. Number 1, we have the Green Coin edition. Green Coin edition, Robinson Otachi and his group from Kisii University. Green Coin edition. Okay. Position 2, Rax AI, David Ogega and the team. And position 3, we have G-Build. Please let them stand up so that I have noticed that you are not clapping well for number 2 and 3, and therefore I'm changing the order in which I'm calling out the names now. So in the third category of the cyber, AI, and blockchain technologies, I will start with the third one so that they are able just to stand, and then we will be able to meet them after this when they are coming to collect their gifts. And finally, I'll call number 1. So I'll start now. I changed this based on your behavior. So I'm still monitoring how you're behaving. I'll call Mr. Geoffrey Momanyi. Please come forward to help us lead this. Number 3, we have Ken Corpus AI, Robinson Otachi. Please just stand up, they see you. Wherever he is, stand up, they see you. Here. Number 2, we have Kura Smart. Kura Smart, a verifiable digital election infrastructure for African institutions. Please look at the young man who is trying to change how we are going to do our elections. And please give him an applause. Then the winner in this category, we have Kenya Watch AI. Please, Douglas Mwebi. Douglas Mwebi, please come forward. Douglas is a first-year student. And something unique with his invention is that he's trying to make sure that people are held accountable. He's trying to make sure that all the corruptions, his AI is able to go through the tender documents, and even the person who was awarded the contract, and also to flag if there was any anomalies in that. So whatever thing you are doing with the e-procurement, be very careful. The information is out. So let's clap for him. Then we have the fourth category, the EduTech. Number 3, Mobile Science Laboratory by Dr. Mwenga Ezekiel. Please just stand wherever you are so that we are able to acknowledge. And at the same time, may I request Dr. Zipora to come forward and give the winner in this category. Number 2, we have Msomi Alert by Joseph Muhiri and his group. Please just stand up so that they are able to see you. Thank you. And then the winner in this category is Innovation Real-Time Sign-to-Speech Translator. Sign-to-Speech Translator. There is already, the exhibitor is Andrew Ngumbao Ndolo from Kisii University. I'm seeing the sign interpreter. I don't know how this, you should liaise with the person so that you're able to see how to convert the sign to speech. So we congratulate you, Andrew, and your team. Please clap for them as they receive the award. Thank you. The fifth category, we have the healthcare. And as we start with the third one, I'll request Dr. Jackie Walubwa. I've seen you around. The third group, or the third ranking, we have Dr. Palmo Multimodal AI-assisted lung cancer diagnostic tool. Please stand so that they are able to clap for you. Dominic Oigo and his team. The second one, we have Afya Connect, Brian Ochieng and also his team. Please stand up so that they are able to connect you. And the winner in this category, we have Toto Afia Digital, Eric Mwangi, and also his team. Please come forward and your team. Let's clap for them, please. Thank you. Then we have the 6th category, the technology and ICT. These ones I will call all of you now to come. I'll start with the 3rd one. Robotic arm for automated assembly, Kenneth Otieno from Nyamira National Polytechnic. Please come forward. Please come forward. The next person to prepare is number 2. We have Trace MEKE, AI-assisted missing persons resolution platform for Kenya. This one is also very interesting for looking at, if you try missing and then we try locating you. So Dominic Oigo, also from Kisii University, you can come. I've not seen the 3rd person that I called. And the first one is the innovation hashboard. Exhibitor is Alexander Bryan, also from Kisii University. Because I've called the 3 of them, I will request Professor Ngacho to come and also give them the award. Please come forward, all the groups that we've called. Let's clap for them, please. Let's clap for them. Thank you, Prof. We also have another category for the agri-tech. I will request Agri-Market to stand, Edmond Otieno to stand so that you are able to give him appreciation. Number 2 and 1, I will also request you to come, but before that, I will also request the DVC from Turkana University, who is going to give them their awards. We have number 2, Agrigad, Brian Maaga Mbaka, Kisii National Polytechnic. And the first one, we have Agrovolt, Emmanuel Omondi. Please come with their team. Please clap for them as they come straight. Thank you. This one. Thank you, Prof. I told you I'll change the rules depending on how you behave, which I've also been monitoring using my AI. And I've realized that the energy in you is getting depleted. So you need to still clap harder so that you don't lose it. Under the category, we have the 8th category, the energy, environment, and climate change. The 3rd one is Kijani Hair, Ruth Kerubo Getabu, and the team from National Polytechnic. Please come forward. As they come forward, I will request Professor Getange to come and give them the awards. Please come forward, Kijani Hair. Number 2, the real-time gas leak detector, Frederick Wetaba, also from the Kisii National Polytechnic. Please come forward. So we are starting with the Kijani here. Please clap for them. Then the real-time gas detector. Number 2, the real-time gas detector. Please come forward. And the first one also to come forward, Eco Glass Blocks by Magdalene Arasa, also from Kisii National Polytechnic. Prof, there is one group. Number 1, please come. Please just continue clapping. Your time is coming when you are going to be clapped for. And let it find when we still have enough energy to clap for you. Please continue clapping for them. The Eco Glass Blocks. The 9th category, we have the improved technologies. Improved technologies, I will again start with number 3, and again I will request all of them to stand. To come forward. I will request for number 3, I will request Dr. Kitonga Lydia to come forward. Is she around? I saw her there. Please come and award under these improved technologies. We have 3 winners, and the first one is from on Integrated Graduation Life Cycle Management System. Joanna Mangura Obie, please come forward to be. From Kaimoshi Friends University. Please clap for them. Under this category again, we have Cardio AI. Please come forward. I will request Dr. Omwanga to come. I saw him around. Cardio AI, KCA University. Stephen Masharia, Healthcare. Please give them a clap. And again, we have Innovation Medibot AI-powered health assistant from Turkana University College. Dennis Ngunjiri. Dr. Tombe, please come and come back to stage. So continue clapping. Your name is next. Thank you. We also had the senior secondary schools category. And we had Cardinal Otunga boys. The two projects, See Beyond System developed for disabled to navigate the complex society. Please let them come forward. And also the Cogniville, an AI-powered system for computer vision. Please let them come forward. And I request Mr. Wetaba, I saw him here, Mr. Wetaba to come, please. Oh, wait, oh, please, thank you. Let's clap for them. At the high school level, they are already seeing a problem and they are already looking for a solution to the problem. Please give them the... Thank you. We also have a category of the most promising innovators. Here we have, I will call them to come again. We have the Mind Care Innovations by first year BSc IT student, Anthony, Edmond, and Shelton, please. And I will request Dr. Mosa to come. Mind Care Innovation by the first year. Yes, this one. Thank you. Please clap for them as they take their envelope. In the same category, I will request Dr. Mosa just stay a little while. Akili Innovation by Douglas Mwebi, a first year also BSc computer student. Please come for your envelope. Please come forward for your envelope. I also want to call upon, before I give you the overall that we thought, it's okay, thank you. I will also want to call upon two special categories before we go to the three overall innovators for the week. We have a category for the most organized innovation stand. We went through and also looked at the stands, the way they were organized. We are not saying that you are not organized, but you are trying to put your things in order. But there is one that are already made that effort. So in this category, we have the KCA University, please. We have KCA University, and this one I want Mr. Douglas himself to give that award. Please clap for them as they come.
Thank you, Doc. I want to thank KCA University for finding time to come. And with the permission from my boss, I want to say that when you invite us, we shall reciprocate and safe journey home.
Thank you. Please clap for them. I told you your time is coming. I've not exhausted my list. I'm the one who is having this list. We also come to a special category for the Registrar Research Award. And it is special in this way, that it is special. So we are going to give an impressive innovator, a lady called Mildred from Nyamira Polytechnic. And I will request our registrar, Rose Ogata, to come for that. Please come forward as we clap for the... I thought we were giving to a lady. Oh, thank you. Please, let's clap for them. Thank you so much. And now we want also to involve our chief guest and also assign him responsibilities apart from the one that he came to perform. And this time around, we also want to invite him to give oh, sorry for that. I was saying that our chief guest, we also have some responsibility that we will assign him, as he will also be awarding our best 3 innovators. But just before that, we also had partners whose stand was also outstanding, and we also need to recognize them, and we'll call them to come forward for a special recognition. The stand that was manned by Kemfree, please let them come forward. And our Dr. Auni will give them the reward. I told you to keep on clapping. Yours is next. I'll tell you when to stop. Thank you so much. As we come to the last 3, for some of you who got the opportunity to interact with these innovators, please, it is a very good thing. Always take time to also see what they are doing. Most of the problems that you are having in academia can be sorted out by just these students. Giving that because I also saw some of the problems that I was having with some of my students being sorted by the same students that we are having. So get time and also interact. And also you, the innovators, before you leave, please, you had the opportunity of going around to see what every person was doing. Interact more, and then you are able to see what's happening. I was very impressed by all of you on what you are all doing. But I also had my problems, which I think we are developing solutions, and I have engaged a number of you, and I'm also going to link you with some other guys that are doing similar things so that you are able to move from the small mindset that you are having that it might not go elsewhere to seeing a broader picture. So as I said before, that our chief guest will request you to give for the 3 overall winners of this week, Innovation Week. I will request that you come forward when we call you. The Kura Smart Verifiable Digital Election number 3, Infrastructure for Africa. Isaiah Macau, under the category of the cyber security. I think we need to have this Kura Smart before our next election. Otherwise, the third person is the Mind Care. Please clap for him. Mind Care, Anthony Mwendwa. Mind Care, Anthony Mwendwa, please. Please come forward. When it is mind and somebody wants to take care of it, then there is a solution to your problems. So he is also one of the innovators who is having a very impressive thing. Please come forward and your team so that you get recognized for the effort. You still want me to remind you to clap? Thank you so much. Let's clap for them as they clap. And finally, let's have the Kenya Watch AI, Douglas Mwebi, come forward. The cybersecurity and AI, please come forward. Douglas Mwebi's innovation was able to inspire most of us. And we felt that that is the right direction of bringing transparency and fixing some of these small issues that we have now that we are headed to Singapore. So please clap for him. Thank you so much, our chief guest. Excuse me. Finally, our chief guest, for the good work, now that you are the last one and the first one to give a presentation, but now the last one to also give a word. In the African culture, we don't leave our visitors empty-handed. So we also want to thank him for coming and also for his time, and also for his role and also the inspiring presentation that he gave, and the insights on where to look for problems when you want to innovate. To move from the normal innovation to commercialization is a key aspect, and also to give you the link up on what next after the pitching. Okay, so I'll request our registrar. I will request Professor Getange to come. Please let's clap for him as he gives our guests the. Thank you so much. As I hand over the microphone, I want to request that you clap for me. Thank you. And also for Douglas.
And for yourself. Let's appreciate that particular session. Allow me to recognize Kisii.
Kisii, make I tell you, say in 1 month, in 1 week, you will sing a new song. 2 days, lesser than you will hear. Congratulations.
The Lord is good, and all the times. We are proud as Kemfree because Kemfree and Kisii University is one, and we work together as a team. And we have a collaboration. Thank you, Kisii University, for recognizing us and welcoming us to this very important event. And we want to thank God for you for everything. And together we shall move. Thank you.
And on behalf of the Deputy Vice Chancellor, allow me invite the Registrar Academic, Professor Getange, to come and give a closing remark. And after that, Rose will give us a vote of thanks, and Dr. Njurai will pray, and they are the only people separating.
Congratulations, he has done it for you, and you will come back with a new song to sing. God is good. Yes, you will come again with a new song of praise. God is good. Oh, congratulations.
Innovators, all protocols observed. I'd like to take this chance now, after the week-long exhibition and discussions and displays we have had, and I've really seen very talented innovators here. young innovators from Cardinal Tunga. I think, God willing, the sky is the limit as you progress in your academic, journey, because we are looking to the world of innovation, not to do things the normal way. And I'd like to, as an university, I'd like to thank the section for research for this great idea, because this was an inaugural exhibition of innovation. I think in the next level, we may transist to having an incubation center. An incubation center, a place whereby these ideas can be incubated and then be transformed to reality as time goes by. In fact, I was visiting one of the universities in this country, and they had a center where they had 40 ideas. These ideas are documented, and they are left in the incubator for some time, and then they be able to solve some of the societal problems we have. So I'd like to thank on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and the University of Management, I'd like to thank the staff in the Office of Research for this great idea. And I think the next year will be a great improvement from this year, because this is the first one. And we may end up to document whatever innovations which we have. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of ideas, but where to apply them is another issue. So if we can bring all these ideas together, I think we can make a world a great place to live. So the members, you have been here the week long. We'd like to appreciate the speakers. We have in our midst Dr. Riro, who culminated this week of exhibition. We appreciate you. We appreciate the deans who have been here throughout the week, the institutions represented. We really don't take it for granted for getting time to come. The DVC from Turkana University, DVC Masinde Muliro University, for taking time to come and share with us in this very important week-long exhibition. So I'd like to thank the schools, high schools, all the institutions represented here, that we appreciate your coming here. And as you go back, as one had mentioned, once you invite us, like Professor Ngacho told me next week, they have what from Masinde Muliro. I'm sure the staff in the research should be planning to exhibit some of our items there. Otherwise, because I'm told lunch is ready, Professor Ngacho told me he's heading to Busia. I'd like to thank all of us for this wonderful time we have had together. Those ones who have come from far, maybe you have spent much time here, don't rush home. Take time to go around the Kisii. There is a lot you can be able to see in Kisii. It's a very friendly part of this country. Take some time off and be able to visit some of the sites in Kisii. Otherwise, without much to say, I'll say thank you. May God bless you on behalf of the school, by the University Management Board, for taking your time to be here. And with these few remarks, I'd like to declare this 2026 Kisii University Innovation Week to a close. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Registrar, for bringing us to a close. Allow me to quickly run through to our participants here with us. We appreciate the following universities who managed to join us to celebrate our inaugural Innovation Week: Kisii University, Kaimos Friends University, Turkana University College, Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, Great Lakes University, Alupe University, and Masai Mara University. We also appreciate Nyamira Polytechnic, National Polytechnic, Kisii National Polytechnic, and West Mugrango Polytechnic, who also came to benchmark with us. I don't know whether the West Mugrango are still around, but they were here yesterday with us. We also appreciate Kanutunga High School for also joining us in the exhibition process. Allow me to also especially thank our sponsors for this event, represented here with the Kenya Marine Fisheries Research Institute. Thank you very much. We also appreciate our other partner, Kisii Mwalimu Sacco. We also appreciate Elite Savers CBO. We appreciate Egerton University Sacco. The water we've been taking was well sponsored by them. Allow me to also especially appreciate the University Management Board and the Council for giving us resources and for giving us the blessings to hold this event. Registrar, please pass our regards to the board. We also thank our keynote speakers, led by Professor Njiro, who was here with us on Tuesday from ICAD. Dr. Tono Mwansa was here with us on Wednesday. From the Kenya National Innovation Agency. We had Mr. Geoffrey Momanyi from the Research and Extension Officer, who was with us here yesterday. And today we are blessed to be here with Mr. Riro, Jeremy, and also I need to also point out that they're also our partner on Innovation Matters. Thank you, Jeremy, for being with us during the closing ceremony. Allow me also to thank our rapporteur who has sat through this week, led by Mr. Joshua Mundi. Please stand and wave. He's the one who is doing our documentary. Thank you, Joshua. We appreciate you with your team. And we also had a special team of moderators led by Dr. Peter Gutwa. Thank you for the work you've done. There were other moderators, Dr. Tombe, whom we ambushed this morning. We also had Dr. Mongare Omare, along others. Thank you for your work. We also had our able AMC, who has made us be lively all through the week. Our very own able Dr. Rhoda Auni. Thank you very much for your work. Allow me also to appreciate all the innovators. Without you, this event would have been eventful. We appreciate you. And also allow me to appreciate all the faculty members with us. And some of you have participated in the reward system. We appreciate you for the mentorship you've been giving our students and what you continue to do. It's from what you're teaching them that they're able to come up with all these ideas. Faculty members from all the institutions who are here with us, we appreciate you all. I know the committee was appreciated earlier on by our chair, but also allow me to say thank you so much. Without your teamwork, the night meetings and all that, we appreciate you. Specifically, also allow me to thank the ABLE team from the research office. Please wave wherever you are. You've done a good job. Mr. Bongare, I know, has had sleepless nights to ensure all the logistics during the Easter weekend. He was here with Lynette And thankfully, everything is just in place as it was supposed to be. We appreciate you all. Our judges, we also appreciate you. Without your work, we wouldn't have been able to do the reward system. I hope I have mentioned all the key participants. We appreciate our security team. I don't know if Omeche is here, who ensured that, who ensured that our items were safe from the pitching date up to date. Edgar and your team, without all this, we say that if it's not documented, it never happened. So thank you, we appreciate you. I know you've camped here since the Easter weekend to set up all this. And you've given us very beautiful photos, beautiful videos from way back when we started to do the marketing, publicity online, and documenting all this. So we appreciate you, we appreciate the work you're doing, and with the rest of your crew, thank you so much. And any other person I might have forgotten to mention, remember we have you at our space, and we appreciate you. Our students at Kisii University and even neighboring institutions, feel free to walk to the research office so that we assist you in the patenting process. Mr. Jeremy promised that he's going to work with the Innovation Club to ensure that we move these ideas from just idea level so that we move you to the next levels as indicated. So we'll be following up with him so that then we see whether the questions you've been asking all through the week, I know some even raised questions yesterday about inviting angel investors. One of them is here and is going to link us to all those investors. So feel free to walk to our office so that we give you all the logistical support that you need during this process. Thank you so much, and allow me to hand it back to Dr. Aoumi.
Let's appreciate Rose. We want to do a standing ovation for all those that you have mentioned, plus all of us. And then 2 announcements. 1, lunch is ready. Our guest will head to the Senate chambers. Our dear participants, we know where we have been eating from. So our lunch is ready right after we have done our prayers. Kindly ensure that we do that. I just want to remind you that these are opportunities for networking. You just never know. In future, we could be having innovations, parties from different institutions. So KCA and Kisii and Nyamira National Polytechnic. So let's do a lot of networking even as we come to the end of this. So the standing ovation is like this. We will begin clapping. The first people to stand, you clap when it's a standing ovation, unaanzia chini ukirudi juu. So with the last row, the second row, hivyo mpaka hapa. Tukifika hapa, we can clap, and we can hand over the claps to God for the gift of life. So let us be ready. Prepare your hand like you're about to eat lunch. Prepare your hand like you're related to a lawyer. Prepare your hand like you have appetite. Just prepare your hand. Okay, so we are starting with the last row, that is. Kuna wale wa juu. Wacha tuanze na wale wa juu and then we go to that. So this is the standing ovation for the Innovation Week. Let us begin. Pigeni makofi mkinuka juu. Hey. Yinyi mnahitaji tuition. Are you really here? Are you really here? Aya, ketini chini. Start clapping as you rise up. Now this is the standing ovation for the Innovation Week. Let's go. Twende kule nyuma, twende. Aha, as they start next. Wow. We thank God, we thank the research team, each and every person that has participated into this, and we can remain upstanding even as we do a closing prayer.
Thank you so much. Let's recognize we are in the presence of God. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we come before you thanking you for this head of Innovation Week that you have graced and blessed throughout. You provided for wisdom that we have seen transcend between and among us. As we come to the close, Lord, we are asking that these innovations that we have seen May they rise to the next level of being business ideas, being investments to solve problems in our country and rise us to the next level. We pray for journey masses for all who came along from Nairobi, from Turkana, all the places, Lord, that you provide safe journey masses for them. And as we come to this end, Lord, we also praying for the lunch that you have provided. May it fill our bodies, energize us to even serve you better. You have said in your book that your children get lost because of lack of knowledge. But here it is, Lord, that you have blessed us with this. May you help us to also be innovative and invest in those ideas, invest in those innovations. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Allow me reminders of our group.
Them say that I can never be yours. I've seen that God is greater than that. Who can battle with the Lord?